We will have the pledge, followed by a moment of silence for Bucky Sabowski.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Embo, we'll do a roll call, please.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Kuzic.
Present.
Mr. Giovanni.
Here.
Mr. Gofredo.
Here.
Mr. Heckman.
Here.
Mr. Lott.
Here.
Mr. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes, here.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Here.
All present.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 15, 2023.
So
Second.
seconded.
All in favor, say aye.
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 There is no courtesy of the floor. Is there anyone who would like to address council while we're here? If so, please move forward. Okay. We'll move right on to the executive's report.
I wanted to, we're going to end my report on a high note, but unfortunately, we have some low notes that we have to discuss. And first, you'll recall that Ned and Linda Heindel donated 77 acres, Hexenkoff Ridge, to the county to create one of our 3 new county parks. Ned passed away. Yep. And we're all a little poor for the loss of Ned Heindel. And if you'd like to learn about who we are, where we come from, not just here in the county, but in Pennsylvania, read Ned's book, Hexenkoff, History, Healing, and Hexerai. It is a very fascinating book, and you'll learn something about yourself. As you know, in my opinion, the greatest controller to ever serve Northampton County, Bucky Zaborski, has passed on. And we'll miss Bucky very much. And I was struggling with, there's been a lot of media attention to Bucky's passing, and they've covered, the media's covered, pretty roundly Bucky's life, his role in his church, his participation in community events, politics, government. And I was trying to come up with a way that I could properly send Bucky off that Bucky would appreciate. And on Sunday morning, I was just scrolling through the paper, and I saw an article that I thought Bucky would appreciate. And so I want to read some things that I think Bucky would have said to you after concluding some of his reports to you from the controller's office. What do you call a pig that does karate? A pork chop. Bucky loved his corny jokes. He would have liked to tell you, why did the bike fall over? It was too tired.
That is fine.
Why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants? In case he got a hole in one. Why did the Clydesdale give a pony a glass of water? Because he was a little hoarse. What did the policeman say to his belly button? You're under a vest. Why did the man get hit by a bike every day? He was stuck in a vicious cycle. What did the bartender say to the turkey sandwich when it tried to order a beer? Sorry, we don't serve food here. Why do seagulls fly over the sea? If they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels. What's the difference between the bird flu and the swine flu? One requires treatment and the other ointment. Rest in peace, Bucky. We'll miss you. So, when the pandemic struck, and during your Human Services meeting, we talked a lot about that in the context of Graysdale. The pandemic wasn't just a healthcare or medical crisis. It was also very much an economic crisis. And we here in Northampton County were as aggressive as anyone in getting our CARES money and our American Rescue Plan money out the door. And specifically, most of us work for small businesses, as defined as a business that employs 100 or less people. And we knew that it was very important from the very first days of the CARES Act money arriving, that it would be important to save our small businesses because most of us work for small businesses. So in summation, in our fight to help our small businesses, remember, because most of us work for them, survive and thrive, and they're thriving now in Northampton County. They're thriving. We did 766 grants through the CARES Act to small businesses, 1,146 grants through the ARP fund, 1,912 total grants for a total amount of $25 million. And then Lehigh County duplicated our effort for $50 million in the Lehigh Valley. I believe we helped save many, many businesses. And today, many of those businesses are thriving. But it wasn't just a business crisis that was occurring at the time of the pandemic. There was also a crisis of layoffs. And those layoffs were threatening the very existence of folks being able to have a roof over their heads or have their utilities paid for. And that's where the state created its ERAP program, and we here in Northampton County created the CMED program. And I just want to read to you what County Council passed, what County Council passed. And this was on October 1st, 2020. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of the County of Northampton that the allocation of COVID-19 county relief block grant total in the amount of $648,256 is approved, and that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements to effectuate the COVID-19 CMED plan. That was the beginning of us keeping people in their homes with their lights on. That was the beginning. And so I want to just give you some data. In Northampton County, under the ERAP CMED program, which you created, we spent $34,924,210.92 in rental and utility assistance for Northampton County residents. I believe that sum of money, and let me repeat it, $34,924,210.92 in rental and utility assistance prevented a homelessness crisis in Northampton County. I absolutely believe that during the heart of the pandemic. We processed 7,194 applications, over 30 applications a day at the height of the pandemic. This amounts to over 21,000, with 313,000 people in this county, 21,000 Northampton County residents receiving assistance that avoided an epic homelessness crisis. Imagine 21,000 people on the streets, extra. About 80%, 16,800 of the residents received both rental and utility assistance. So not only did they stay in their homes, but their lights stayed on. And so tonight, we brought with us the folks in government who worked on this and our partners out in the world who helped us with this process to honor them, because the pandemic at the national level has been declared over. The World Health Organization has said the pandemic is over, and it was time to end the ERAP CMED program, and we did. But I think it's very important for us to acknowledge the folks in county government who worked on this program and our partners. So the first person I'd like to call forward is, I think, the person that I think is most now, a lot of these people are just all stars, right? But I think the person who's most singularly responsible for averting the homelessness crisis, and I've said it before, Robin Barbosa, our Deputy Director of Human Services. Robin, would you come up here, please? The County of Northampton recognizes Robin Barbosa for being a part of the county's ERAP CMED program and working together to avert a myriad of evictions over 21,000 Northampton County residents throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Frank Brooks, Administrator, Department of Community and Economic Development. Frank always has ideas, many of which you never hear about, because there's no money tree out back. But the fact of the matter is, it's human beings working in government like Frank Brooks that helped us avert a homelessness crisis. So Frank, congratulations. Ms. Sabrina Lott. Ms. Lott is the Executive Secretary in the Fiscal Affairs Division, and her boss, Steve Barron, was telling me today that Sabrina loved working on the ERAP CMED program, and if you think about it, that's what he said, Sabrina. So if that's not true, don't contradict them. Sabrina, thank you very much for your service. Sabrina did a lot of the work that I told Steve to do, by the way. Ashley Jasmine, Fiscal Specialist. Ashley. Thank you so much.
Smile.
Tricia Gishel, Human Services. Thank you for everything you did, Tricia. They tell me we couldn't have done it without you. That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
I feel like a celebrity.
You are. You know, these people are all very humble people. I'm not sure that they understand exactly how valuable they are to their fellow citizens. I do, though. So the Project of Easton was one of our partners, our community partners in this process. They had their tenant navigators, but it was so much more than that. I mean, they tried to provide the folks in crisis with wraparound services, if you will, and just trying to keep them in their homes, and it was difficult. And many of the tenant navigators burned out because it was so difficult, because there were so many applicants to be screened out because not everybody qualified. So Janice, are you here? Okay, is Aaron here? Is Brianna here? Is Angie here? Come on up. Aaron Roman, Brianna Mascalis, Angie Rosario. Which one? Yeah, there.
Yep, bring it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for what you did.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
There's the
Come on up
hero,
here.
right there.
You're the hero?
Yes.
All right,
the
well, then
hero.
I'm giving it to you. You're all heroes. And, you know, it seems like these folks are partnering with us every day in many ways, and they're helping us make a better community for everybody across the entire county, including here in Easton. The Greater Shiloh Church. Is Pastor Vandenberg here? Yes, sir. Is Destiny Blackshear here? Yes. Gwendolyn Key? Yes. Demon Farley, please come up. Now, so, I mean, we have to give special recognition to all the tenant navigators because they really were the frontline folks who took the calls, who did the interviews, who tried to get the folks to do the right thing. Thank you so much for what you did.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Let's.
You're welcome.
Not what I used to be. Yes, you are. I wouldn't have been able to do that. Congratulations. Thank you so much. North Penn Legal Services, is Lori here? Hi, Lori Malloy. Lori is the Executive Director of North Penn Legal Services, and I know you know this, having been around here a long time, but North Penn Legal Services is an unsung hero in so many different ways, but they were especially an unsung hero in this crisis, helping so many people. Thank you, Lori. You're welcome. New Bethany Ministries. I felt like we're at the Oscars. Mark Riddle, Verone Demenu, Dr. Katima Millsap, Isaiah Price, Marisol Rossi, Rosemary Caminero, Joanna Arias Cabrera, Zian Keith, Brenda Ramos, and Kelly Brown.
They all wanted to come.
It's nice to see you all in person.
It took a lot of people to keep a lot of people in their home. No kidding. Come on. We're good.
All right, don't move. I gotta get Mark's camera.
We gotta get. We gotta get moving before they start playing the music. All right.
Got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And finally, so when it hit and we got this money and we found out what we had to do with it, I said to Tina Smith and Sue Wondolowski and Steve Barron, you better figure this out. And they did. And I'm very grateful to them for doing so. That concludes my report.
On behalf of council, I speak to you and we thank you for all that you have done for our community, and we will be forever eternally grateful for that. I thank you so much. Whole business. Public hearing on the ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of Northampton County Council Authorizing the Purchase of Trail Easement Containment 0.49 acres, more or less, determined by the survey of real property in the borough of Bath, Pennsylvania, from the Bath Borough Authority by the County of Northampton." This was indicated, Mr. Giovanni and Ms. Zorinsky sponsored this. They need to celebrate.
To know if you want them to shut the doors.
No.
Yeah, I just thought you'd want to wait a second.
I didn't look up and realize they were gone. All right, Ms. Zorinsky and Mr. Giovanni introduced this ordinance on June 15th meeting. Are there any questions or public comment on this ordinance? If not, discussion? Call for the vote.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Consideration of resolution overriding the county exec's veto of the ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Providing for an Amendment to Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 2, County Council to provide term limits on members of the County Council of the County of Northampton." The ordinance was introduced by Ms. Fargo Hefner and seconded by Mr. Galfredo. It was presented to the county exec on June 16, 2023, which he vetoed and returned to county council on June 23rd. A resolution providing the override of the veto was prepared, and a vote in favor of the resolution was to override. So let's have discussion about this. Laura, you want to read the resolution?
Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that the county executive's veto of the ordinance titled, "An Ordinance Providing for an Amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 2, County Council to provide term limits for members of County Council of the County of Northampton," shall be overridden on this 6th day of July, 2023.
Discussion? Ms. Zirinsky?
Thank you. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why there is an urgency to do this right now. The 2020 general election had 76% turnout. The 21 election had 27% turnout. The 22 had 32%, and the 23 primary had 23% turnout. So if this is something that seems so important that we want voters to be able to decide, why are we doing this in an upcoming election that poses and historically has been a low turnout election? Not only is this a low turnout election, but I'm really not comfortable with these ordinances right now because I do believe they will drive one party over another, and that can be seen as influencing a race that two council members are currently in, and that one of these ordinances is regarding. It is my understanding that one of the council members may have some data to show that there is some need or urgency to do this, but I can't remember that being either at the governance meeting for which I was on the phone for, or in the discussion for where we voted on this. And I do not see the sea of people that we normally get for something that is urgent. I have seen people fill this room when they demand or want action. And this is not anything that any of my constituents have demanded. I do think that we could put this off. And I would urge my colleagues to vote no on the override because of the things that I just mentioned. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Lott.
Yes, I'll also be voting no on the override. I have really two issues with these. The timing is also an issue, but the motive for these ordinances. 4 years, not one person have sent me an email, called me up, or confronted me that local governments need term limits. Not one time in 4 years have I heard that. I did not see a study by this council. I didn't see any, we didn't bring any experts in, it was very quickly discussed and moved forward. I think something this important should have had a lot more thought. I mean, we basically spent more time correcting, so they had some kind of cohesiveness between these ordinances for term limits. We spent more time on that than we did deciding where. I have heard very little argument why this is important for local government. So that's number one. I wonder where the motive is and where this came from. Number two, the very fact in local government, the problem isn't pushing people away, it's getting people to serve. My town, we've had elected the same mayor for many, many years because we liked him and he did a good job. We can always unelect them. We can always elect somebody new. Same with and I'll cover the DA because now I got, we had a DA for many years. Our voters could have thrown that DA out and replaced him. That's our choice, but they didn't. They kept him. But now we're going to put it out there that we can't have good politicians in local government in this county serve too many terms. And I also sit here 4 years. I realize there's a real learning curve on council. And it's been a real value to me to have people like Peg Ferraro on our council, Mr. Heckman on our council, Mr. Kuzik, that can say, hey, 12 years ago, this is what happened. 16 years ago, this is what happened. We have such a diverse council. What does it hurt to have somebody serving 3 or 4 terms? You're going to have plenty of people serving 1 term, 2 terms. It really hasn't been an issue. It hasn't been an issue for our voters. It hasn't been an issue for our county. So my thing is, when you get people that are dedicated public servants and want to run for these positions, like Mr. Kuzik, several terms. 4 terms. You would be eliminating somebody like Mr. Kuzik that has been dedicated to this board. I don't see the value. I've yet to hear anybody on this council tell me, oh, this brings real value. This is good government. I have not heard that argument. So I question the motive, and I think it's just a downright bad idea to have term limits on local government. We need people that are educated here, that know the county here. It takes time to do that. We also need to be able to reelect people that are dedicated to this county and not put artificial limits on them. We have that. We have elections every 4 years. If you're not doing a good job, they move on. And it isn't like we all sat here for 12 years. It isn't a problem. Our electors move us around, and they can, if we're not doing a good job, they replace us. So I have yet to hear why this is really being done. And I really wonder what the motive is behind this. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Mr. Goffredo.
I don't like the insinuation that there's a conspiracy going on, that all of a sudden the idea of term limits is this novel idea. I think one of the good things about local government is setting a good example for higher government. And I think the resounding sound of people asking for term limits to avoid, no offense to anybody sitting on this council, but there are people running the country that, I wouldn't let run a calculator, in my opinion. 84 years old is, I think, too old in some situations to be holding public office. I don't think this is an idea that's just coming from here. I think it's everywhere. And I think it's good practice to get fresh blood in. I think it's good practice for people to experience this position. So if somebody is very, very good at it, or a council is very popular, compared to what? How do you know? Get new people in, let people see the job, let people experience local government. We don't need to be the only ones doing this. I think it's a good thing for people to say, hey, I've been here for 12 years, go do another position if you like county government so much, or move up to the next position. But to say that everybody in our county knows who our names are, that's not true. So yeah, I think very few people understand what goes on here because very few people pay attention to it. Maybe this would be given an opportunity for more people to get involved and more people to say, hey, they can't serve, so your seat's open in your district. Why don't you try to find somebody in your party to go run for the seat? I don't think this is targeted towards anybody, nor do I think any party is going to benefit one way or the other if this passes. I think the fact that this is coming up in this election, it's a municipal election. It's a local government election. This is a local government topic that we're talking about. I think the perfect election for it to be up in. And the fact that both people are running for the same position that this is being talked about, I think is just showing that you guys both stand to gain or lose from this proposal equally. So I don't think it's being targeted towards anybody. I think the fact that term limits are on the table for 3 separate positions is a good thing. And I think we should support it because I think people should learn to step away from government after being involved with it for so much time, so you can get fresh perspectives and fresh ideas.
May I please rebut?
Yes, Mr. Vinsky.
Thank you. You just said that either one of us could either gain or lose. So by that statement alone, you have suggested that there is an influence. Also, I think it's quite a naive statement that you make to perceive that a referendum, which is often used as a tool to drive out voters in what is historically a low turnout election, is not an attempt to influence. I don't care about what Mr. Lott said about the motivation for why this is happening, but no one has answered the question about why this has to happen now. Both of us brought up the point about why is this happening right now? This is not something that our constituents want. I'm not done yet.
Because we voted on it.
I'm not done yet.
Don't yell,
Thank you
don't
so
yell,
much.
Don't yell.
No, I'm thanking you for, please let me finish. No one has stated why this is happening right now in such an immediate way, within 2 months. And what I think that I want to say is that none of us here sitting on council are Strom Thurmond. None of us sitting here on council today are decrepit. We all have our faculties. Why would you laugh at that? We all have our faculties, and if we wanted to step down, we could. If you thoroughly want individuals to determine who wins an election, then you allow the people to vote. This referendum will take away the votes of all future voters to elect either any of us again. And that's not, I get it. If you don't want to be elected again, then step back. But why is this happening right now in this election? Because if you think this is a good election to have it in, then you just want not that many people to vote for it. Then the few people don't necessarily represent the totality of the electorate. And isn't that what a democracy is? Trying to get the most people to vote for the thing that you want. Not necessarily you, but like in the most democratic way. So if you think that a referendum is necessary, you should put that in the highest turnout election so that the most people predictively are able to vote for that.
Mr. Goffredo, you can respond, and we need to move on because there's two
Very
others.
quickly. It's coming up now because we brought it up and it passed democratically. It's going on a referendum democratically. If people say they want it, they will then vote for it. I don't understand why I'm being lectured on how the democratic process works when we're following it right here and now. If you don't like it, vote no. If you like it, vote yes.
Are we done with discussion on this one? Mr. Heckman?
Pretty silent. It's on. I opposed the ordinances when they came out. And for one reason, my reason was local government. I'm still not, I never believed in term limits. I do now at the federal and state level because people park themselves, they pay good money, they get great benefits, and they move on to K Street or to one of the other places in Emerald City, Harrisburg, to promote their careers. I would agree, local government. I haven't come to the terms yet of do we need it at the local level or not. So that's why I opposed it. I will say though, I've been reading social media and everything else. I think the vote totals you're using, that can skew an argument too. If you look at just the county vote totals for county elections, leave the president out, I think you'll always see a big drop off. So voters that care, vote. Voters that don't care, don't vote. I'm not promoting this at all. I'm just saying, I think that it's, as was said, council members have a right to bring something up. And council members like myself, if I don't think I want to do it right now, probably I think Lehigh County is a great thing. I do think if you're going to end up with term limits, and I'm not advocating any of it right now, but eventually it would be the executive branch. I'm only saying that because there's no way to control the money. Money is killing local government. There are people who will get tons and tons and tons of money, and an incumbent, particularly at the executive level, can build a war chest that is almost insurmountable. So we can't change the money rules, I don't think, unless the feds do something or the state. So, I mean, it would be hypocritical to say, yeah, I'm going to vote for the executive's term limits and then not vote for council term limits. So I'm not going to support these ordinances, but I do think that we have to really be fair about looking at numbers. Elections, you're always going to get a high presidential election result, always. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. I actually prefer the people who vote in local elections. They really take this stuff seriously. And if it's 25% or 30%, that's who votes. And I've said this many times. People have come up to me over the years and said, put their finger in my chest or whatever, and went on, and I said, but did you vote? Well, no, because I said, then you have nothing to say to me about that. I'll listen to your concerns, but if you didn't vote, I don't want to hear how upset you are with government. I don't want to hear how upset you are with the county. You didn't vote. You didn't vote. You didn't vote. So I don't know any motivations. I don't know why we necessarily think one side's going to. Somebody said to me, well, the Dems need guidance. And I'm thinking, well, as a Democrat, I was offended. I mean, we need more time to guide. What, are we elitist? Our party, our voters aren't smart? I mean, and Republican voters are intelligent. They're going to really know this issue. So I think there's been a lot of stuff said. If you agree with it, you agree with it. If you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it. But I mean, I happen to not agree with it because of the fact that I don't agree with term limits on a local level. Beyond that, I don't really see anything. I don't see anything beyond that. Either you like it or you don't like it. But I don't think I don't believe it's a conspiracy. I think, you know, I don't want us to get caught up in the whole nonsense that happened and brought about the other side January 6th. Let's not pretend that that couldn't happen to us if we start having litmus tests. So that's all I had to say. I just thought it was important for me to say that.
Anybody else have discussion? Call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman. Mr. Lott.
No.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
No.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 6-3.
Consideration of a resolution overriding the county exec's veto of the ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 3, county exec to provide term limits for the office of county exec of Northampton County. The ordinance was introduced by Mr. Giovanni and myself on June 1st, 2023 meeting and adopted by County Council at a meeting on June 15th by a vote 7-2. The ordinance was presented to county exec on June 16th, which he vetoed and returned to county council for June 23rd. Ms. Varga Hefner, would you read the resolution?
I don't think it's my resolution. I think it's Mr. Giovanni.
Mr. Giovanni, could you read it then, please?
Yes, I will. Whereas the meeting held June 15, 2023, the Northampton County Council duly adopted the ordinance titled, an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 3, County Executive, to provide term limits for the officers of the County Executive of the County of Northampton. And whereas the duly adopted ordinance was presented to the County Executive on June 16, 2023. And whereas on June 23, 2023, the County Executive vetoed the ordinance, and a copy of the is attached, returned it to County Council on June 23, 2023. Now therefore it be resolved by Northampton County Council that the County Executive's veto of the ordinance titled, an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 3, County Executive to provide term limits for the office of County Executive of the County of Northampton shall be overridden this 6th day of July, 2023.
We have discussion on this one?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Just so I'm clear, the executive, Mr. McClure, who's the executive now, but I just need to know, he's in his second term. So let's say he
can serve.
how many terms can he, what?
2 more.
2 more.
He can serve 2 more terms?
Yes.
All right, I was just curious. I was,
No.
well, no, I just was well, may, I mean, you don't know what he wants to do. Go for 20 years. No, okay, thank you. You answered my question.
Entitled to participate in this.
Anyone else got discussion on this? Let's call for the vote, please.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
No.
Mr. Lott.
No.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky. Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 6-3.
Consideration of a resolution overriding the county exec's veto of the ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 4, Controller to provide term limits for the Controller of the Northampton County. Ms. Varga Hefner and Mr. Gofredo introduced it on June 1st, and it was adopted June 15th by 8-1-1 vote. The ordinance was presented, and Mr. McClure sent it back to us on sent to Mr. McClure on the 16th, or the exec, and vetoed and returned to council on 23rd, 2023. Mr. Goffredo, would you read your, please?
Whereas at the meeting held June
Is your mic
15,
on?
2023, it is, the Northampton County Council duly adopted the ordinance titled an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 4, Controller, to provide term limits for the Controller of the County of Northampton. And whereas and duly adopted ordinance was presented to the County Executive on June 16, 2023. And whereas on June 23, 2023, the County Executive vetoed the ordinance, a copy of the veto message is attached, and returned it to County Council on June 23, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that the County Executive's veto of the ordinance titled an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 4, Controller, to provide term limits for the Controller of the County of Northampton, shall be overridden this 6th day of July, 2023.
Discussion?
I'd like to say something.
Yes, Ms. Varga Hefner. You
I
have the
just
floor.
want to thank my colleagues on council for participating in the governance process, that this was not just done willy-nilly. It was done over time. It was done in committee. It was done with a lot of thought, and everybody who sat in those committee meetings added their thoughts, their opinions, tweaked it, and moved it. And there was actually a discussion about adding the DA, which I see is on the agenda tonight. It was determined to be tabled at first to get these three done. There's been a lot of insinuations about the why and the who and the motive and whatever, and I just think it's that county council has done its job. And I appreciate everybody here who participated in that process. And anybody who doesn't think it's a good idea and doesn't want to give it to the voters and really doesn't want people, that's all this is giving it to the people to vote on. We don't determine what this is today. It goes on a referendum, and they decide. And it goes in an election where Republicans, Democrats, and independents get to decide, not hidden in a primary next year. So, you know, if people can't figure out how to use this to get more voter participation, then I don't know what to say to them. But I appreciate this council's not being willing to keep pushing something else down the road, not address the home rule charter, and to take this as we can, because we only have two ways to do this piecemeal effort or a total home rule charter study. And we did discuss that, and you have all determined you don't want that at this time. So I'm going to continue to bring up little things as I see or as I hear that need to be done whenever it needs to be done till I don't sit in this chair again. But thank you for your time.
Any other discussion? I just believe that democracy works for all of us. And with that said, let's call for a vote.
Mr. Goffredo,
Yes.
Mr. Lott,
No.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Abstain.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
No.
Adopted by a vote of 6-2 with one abstention.
New business, introduction of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance amending the Northampton County Administrative Code Article 12, XV22, Standards of Ethical Conduct. Mr. Heckman, would you sponsor this ordinance?
Oh, yes, sure, absolutely.
Can I have a second? Mr. Lott seconded. We will have a public hearing on July 20th. Now, we're going to move on to the second introduction of ordinance entitled an ordinance providing for an amendment to the Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Article 5, District Attorney to provide term limits for the District Attorney of Northampton County. Can I ask someone to sponsor, and I need a second? Is there a second? Mr. Cusack? We will have a public hearing, debate, possible vote on that in the July 20th meeting also. My hands aren't working, folks. Consideration of a resolution approving funding through a hotel tax 2005 grant for 2023 for St. Luke's DL Race Fest. Ms. Zirinsky, I'd ask you to introduce this for me, please.
Sure will, thank you. Whereas at the July 6, 2023 County Council Economic Development Committee meeting, Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, Inc. explained that the DNL has taken over ownership of the marathon and suite of races previously owned by VIA of the Lehigh Valley. And whereas Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, Inc.'s budget request is $25,000, and the letter of request for funding consideration to the support the 2023 St. Luke's DNL Race Fest are attached as Exhibit A. And whereas Northampton County Council wishes to grant funds for this purpose, now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton. 1, the requested $25,000 to support DNL, Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor, Inc.'s 2023 St. Luke's DNL Race Fest is approved by Northampton County Council. 2, the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute a grant agreement with the applicant not to exceed the approved amount. And 3, the hotel room rental tax 2005 funds should be utilized to support this grant. We discussed this at the Economic Development meeting today. Thank you.
Comment? Mr. Cusack?
Yeah, I just want to applaud the DNL again for stepping up, and I believe volunteer and sponsorship opportunities are still available for, for anyone that's interested. Thank you.
Mr. Cusack earlier pointed out that it will definitely help out with hotel rentals, so that's a big deal. Any other discussion? If not, can I call for a vote?
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Meyer.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Consideration of a resolution approving funding through a hotel tax 2005 grant for 2023 Portland Borough Founder's Day. Ms. Zirinsky, would you please introduce this resolution?
Yes, I will. I just want to mention that my resolution that was in my packet only had the first page, but that the resolution in my economic development packet has both pages, so I'll be reading from that. I'm sure it's the same.
Okay.
Whereas at the July 6, 2023 County Council Economic Development Committee meeting, the Borough of Portland explained that due to the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic and the Route 611 road closure, the borough paused their annual Community Day event and did not apply for future funding. In place of the 2023 Annual Community Day, the borough wishes to hold a Founder's Day celebration honoring the official incorporation of the borough on October 21st, 1876. And whereas Borough of Portland's budget request of $10,900 and a letter of request for funding consideration to support the 2023 Portland Founder's Day, which are attached as Exhibit A, and whereas Northampton County Council wishes to grant funds for this purpose. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, 1, the requested $10,900 to support Borough of Portland's 2023 Portland Founder's Day is approved by Northampton County Council. 2, the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute a grant agreement with the applicant not to exceed the approved amount. 3, the hotel room tax, rental tax 2005 funds shall be utilized to support this grant. We were given a very thorough and great presentation at the Economic Development Committee meeting. I'll be supporting this as well. Thank you.
Anybody else have discussion? I will say it was the most enthusiastic presentation we've had in years. With that said, I will call for a vote.
Mr. Rinsky.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Gofredo.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Your Honor, you have your money.
Both of you. Good job. Thank you.
I know, I'm in the dog tank, I heard that. County Council reports.
When is that?
October
October.
21st.
Committee reports?
They're trying to get you too. Council reports. Ms.
Human Services met prior to this meeting. We heard an update on Graysdale, who had recently had a survey from Department of Health and only got 2 citations where national and state average is 8+. So congratulations to them on their continued work and effort on behalf of the residents. Also began a discussion of the decision aid tool was more complex than we thought, so we'll be doing that again. And the announcement that Gary Rushman has retired from IRIS and from the county after 30-plus years of service, so congratulations to him. And Chelsea Jones has been named as his successor in that department. That's all.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Thank you. We held an Economic Development Committee meeting today, and we passed both the St. Luke's DNL Race Fest and Portland Borough's Founder Day funding. So I want to thank everybody for that. And, keep chugging along, right?
Any other committee reports? Council liaison reports? No one? County clerk?
Yes, I do. Okay, two things, well, three things.
Pay attention.
Okay, the ad for the controller position has been put in today's Express Times, placed on the website, and also posted on the bulletin boards within the government center. For those that are interested or know someone interested, resumes are due back to the county council office by 4 p.m. on July 13th. They will be reviewed at the personnel committee meeting, and so the candidates will be, should appear on the 19th of July in case there's any questions. Then there may be a selection of a candidate at the July 20th council meeting. And all resumes, when they come in, will be sent out directly to county council, both just as they come in and also in the daily memos. So check your emails. I talked to Michelle Buski from the Mara DeSalle about the audit, and she has to meet with Mary Alice Einfeld first, and then we'll set up a meeting date for her to come and give their presentation. Now, we also had a question about the dividers between the council members. If you want them up, we will keep them up. If you want them to come down, we will take them down, so you can let me know what the preference is.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It keeps me from having Kevin sneeze on me.
Yes.
Are you utilizing social media in any way for advertising the position?
No.
No.
Do we have any social media access that we'd be able to just expand the reach? I know, I'm just trying to find as many opportunities as possible to
Right.
get as many
I-
candidates as
If you
possible.
want, we'll put it out.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
If that's something council wants, we'll do that.
What's the clock, the 30-day clock? What, the 20th was the last, you got to do something by the 20th?
30 days.
If you could just
30 days from its passing.
the ad, if you
Yep,
could email me,
yep,
I'll take care of it.
Yep,
Okay,
okay.
all right. I just wanted to be clear.
We'll be within the 30 days if we do it on the 20th.
Fair enough.
So hopefully we get some candidates, and they should be here on the 19th in order to answer questions.
We sent it out Monday. Any other questions? Are you done? Okay. Solicitor? Nothing. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. I will see everybody in 2 weeks.
Get it done before the petition's filed.
I am unavailable tomorrow. You will